It's been a few months since Dead Island 2 was released, after almost 10 years of waiting. And although many might expect the final product to be complete garbage after its tough development, the game manages to remain quite decent, which, while not excellent, is indeed very fun in its gameplay and mechanics. In this video, I wanted to talk a bit about my impressions after trying it out a few months after its release, and tell you what I thought. So sit back and let's get started. The development process of Dead Island 2 was quite complicated. It passed through several developers over the years, and each time it seemed like this game would be a complete disaster once it was released, if it ever was. The thing is, we've seen how when games pass through many hands, the final product ends up being chaotic and disorganized. However, even though I think Dead Island is chaotic and disorganized in some ways, that point could even be considered positive, because the game doesn't take itself seriously. Therefore, after trying Dead Island 2, I ended up finding a fun game with very entertaining gameplay and scenarios. To start with, they made the most of their graphics engine, which is clearly visible in the different scenarios of the game. Exploring various parts of LA feels very entertaining. The houses and streets are well built with a post-apocalyptic and terrifying look, which adds a lot. However, while this point is very good, it's not as good as killing zombies. Exploring is amazing, but dismembering and killing zombies is what makes this game decent and very fun in my opinion. The system they implemented in the game, where you can dismember and annihilate them in various ways, ends up being very dynamic and addictive. You can explode them, shoot them, cut them with katanas, and much more. The weapons you use to face the different zombies can be modified and upgraded with various accessories. For example, improving their speed, attack, or even durability. These accessories also give attributes to the weapons, such as the ability to inflict poison or even set enemies on fire. As I mentioned, the game lacks a bit of sense. Even the story is quite crazy, but the interesting thing about the game is that it never tries to be serious, showing its true face from the opening cinematic. The story, characters, and even the protagonist don't take anything seriously, and for some strange reason, you can ignore all of this and enjoy the game killing zombies all over LA. I'm not saying that this game is a 10 out of 10. On the contrary, I don't think it is. But it's worth considering that after 10 years, the game actually manages to remain solid and enjoyable to play. In this case, they decided to change the origin of the virus and give a different focus to the whole plot. In Dead Island 2, you would be in Los Angeles, exploring places like Beverly Hills, Bel Air, and other iconic places in the city. The mission is trying to make your way through zombies to find the answer to your immunity and maybe the way to save humanity. That's the plot of Dead Island 2, and as I said, it's a bit crazy, and it gets even crazier as you keep playing. Throughout the adventure, you'll encounter various types of zombies with different abilities and mechanics to overcome. Some spit fire, others acid, some scream and emit a kind of supersonic aura. As crazy as it sounds, it's a complete nonsense. But as I mentioned before, this madness suits the game well, or at least that was my experience playing it, where you can forget about any kind of logic and immerse yourself in its world. As another interesting point to talk about, there are several main characters, which you can choose at the beginning of the game, each with different advantages and completely different personalities, where depending on your playstyle, you could choose one or the other. You have faster and more dynamic characters with less health, and others slower with a lot of health, and others who would be an intermediate point between the two. The good thing is that you can choose based on how you like to play, changing the gameplay to your preference. Once you've chosen a character, you can't change it throughout the story, and you have to play with them until the end. There's also a skill card system to improve your skills and abilities, and in it, you can change them as you like, acquiring very crazy skills to face the infected, even using their own zombies' attacks against them. Since thanks to your immunity, you would be a hybrid between zombie and human. Overall, Dead Island 2 manages to keep you hooked, giving you the opportunity to kill zombies in many ways. Moving on to something I found interesting about the game, which is related to the game's scenarios, is the story and details they put into each of them. For example, at one point in the plot, if you take some time to investigate, you can discover quite disturbing stories and events within the world, which are hidden from plain sight. And I think it's a good thing that beyond all the madness and nonsense that the game is, they still maintain a bit of seriousness in certain aspects, giving some weight to the outbreak and the new world we'll be exploring after it's spread throughout the city. In this story, Los Angeles would be isolated from the world, preventing access and exit with large walls, which were put up by the military with the intention of containing the virus. I think it's cool and adds to the experience and the idea that we're in the depths of hell, trapped between walls, with death lurking in every corner. The visual aspect ends up being in a middle ground between the beauty of the city, with its mansions, streets, and elegant buildings, and the death and bloody scenarios. On the map, You can find secondary missions with quite dark humor and exaggerated situations, which will help increase your level and obtain new blueprints and weapons against the different enemies. Something that comes in handy once you progress a bit in the story and the zombies start to outlevel you, where getting on their level is essential to progress and confront them. Taking all this into account, I can say that I was pleasantly surprised to revisit Dead Island 2 after so long and try it again after going through its story. I think I could define it as a good zombie game, which you can even play cooperatively, adding more to the experience and giving an extra to everything mentioned before. Clearly, there are negative aspects, but I don't think playing it felt like a bad game or boring, which we might expect given its history and changes in development. As I said, it's something decent and solid considering its overall situation. Anyway, I wanted to share a bit of my experience revisiting Dead Island 2 after so long and so much uncertainty surrounding this game. I hope you liked this video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like to support the channel and be part of the community. Let me know in the comments your opinions. I hope to see you in the next time.